Tonight,
good afternoon, folks.
Joe Biden hits the road.
What we want to do is we got to heal. We got to put things together, bring people together.
The latest on his visit to a city reeling after the police shooting of Jacob Blake. And
the expected rate of annual economic growth will just be less.
What the economy needs to help turn it around as the country fights the coronavirus pandemic. Plus,
we'll produce a vaccine before the end of the year, or maybe even sooner.
Now the head of the CDC is telling states to be ready by November 1st. The search for COVID-19 vaccine and much more. Tonight on Faith Nation. The former vice president calls for healing in Kenosha. Welcome to Faith Nation, everyone. I'm John Jessup.
And I'm Jenna Bratter. Thanks for joining us. Joe Biden made his way to Wisconsin today, his visit coming just a few days after President Trump's, both in response to the violent protests following the police shooting of Jacob Blake.
This is Biden's first trip to the key battleground state as the Democratic presidential nominee. CBN's White House correspondent Ben Kennedy joins us now with more. Ben, the irony is Biden's visiting the same state where he was supposed to accept the nomination, but didn't because of the coronavirus.
John, Jenna, you're right. But today, Biden had a 90-minute in-person meeting with the Blake family, with his father, his sister, and brother. And we've also learned he actually spoke to Jacob Blake on the phone from his hospital bed. It is during that 90-minute conversation they talked about changing treatment of minorities and police interactions, Biden selecting Kamala Harris as his running mate, and also they shared the pain that they are enduring. After that, Biden had a community meeting at Grace Lutheran where he said that rioting and looting is just not the answer.
Let's get something straight here. Protesting is protesting, my buddy John Lewis used to say. But none of it justifies looting, burning, or anything else. So regardless how angry you are, if you loot or you burn, you should be held accountable as someone who does anything else, period. It just cannot be tolerated.
Now, it's been a week since protests and riots broke out after Jacob Blake was shot 7 times, leaving him paralyzed. Biden's visit comes 2 days after President Trump traveled to Kenosha. Wisconsin's governor and Kenosha's mayor had asked Trump to cancel his trip, saying the visit will do little to heal the city's wounds. It was the opposite scenario for Biden, as he said there was, quote, an overwhelming request that he visits. The bottom line, today's visit was about listening and learning and helping the community heal. John, Jenna.
And ABC News political director Rick Klein is here now for more. Rick, President Trump was in Kenosha earlier this week. Biden is there today attempting to set himself apart by calling for national healing. How effective is that call, Rick? And does it resonate enough with voters to help him in the polls?
Well, I think a lot of this event is about answering the calls from many Democrats and even some Republicans who said, you got to be out there, you got to be doing things, you got to show what you'd be as president. It's notable that this is one of the very few times that the Vice President Biden has ventured even out of the Eastern time zone for a campaign event. Other than a trip to see George Floyd's family in Texas, he hasn't left at all the greater Delaware area during the entirety of the COVID-19 crisis. So a lot of that obviously is because of the limited travel, but I think he's trying to signal that he's more engaged in the campaign. And I think by making a much different trip, meeting with the family of Jacob Blake, that's an important statement in the context of what President Trump hasn't done in his response. And as you said, a different message, a different moment. I think the events in Wisconsin have created a leadership challenge, a leadership moment for the candidates, and that's what Vice President Biden is trying to do.
Well, on the other side of the spectrum, President Trump is on the campaign trail. He's in Pennsylvania tonight, a key battleground state. How's the race shaping up there?
Well, Pennsylvania looks to be, according to some of the polls after the convention, one of the battleground states that's actually tightening. Overall, it looks like Vice President Biden is in as strong a position as he's been throughout the summer. But Pennsylvania looks to be a little bit different, a little bit surprising because it is a place that Biden is from. He references it often in his campaign speeches. He's campaigned there a few times. He's put a lot of emphasis, even earlier this week, showing up in Western Pennsylvania, in Pittsburgh, where he launched his campaign. But it does appear to be that Donald Trump is a little bit stronger there than in some of the other battlegrounds. And we haven't seen a whole lot of shifting ground in the wake of the conventions, but Pennsylvania is one place where the polling would suggest just a smidge of a tighter race, with Biden still maintaining an edge, but not quite the lead that he had maybe a couple of months ago.
Rick, the Biden campaign announced that it took in $365 million last month. What does that signify to you about the strength of his campaign and the race for cash between Republicans and Democrats?
It's a staggering number, and to me, it speaks to the power that Trump has in terms of drawing people off the sidelines. Joe Biden was not a good fundraiser as a presidential candidate any of the 3 times that he ran. He was falling behind much of the field, but now that he's the nominee, now that he has Kamala Harris as his running mate, now that he's had the convention, you're seeing him with access to really an unlimited sum of money. These are numbers that previously only really people like Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders may have had access to, and I think it really is the spigot's opened up because of the anti-Trump sentiments. A lot of people want to beat him. It's been the motivating factor. We've seen it in polls. People are a lot more excited to vote against Trump than to vote for Biden. And the way to do that in terms of the pocketbooks is to donate to the Biden campaign. So that's what's been happening. And I think the numbers that are pouring in, it's erased any perceived fundraising advantage that Donald Trump and the Republicans had. And money is not going to be the reason, I think, that either candidate wins or loses. They're both going to be extremely well funded.
Rick, as you said, that was a majorly big haul. Last question. We only have about a minute left. We now know the names of the presidential debate moderators. Joe Biden is calling for real-time fact-checking during those debates. Would that happen? And if it did, would it be a game changer?
Well, I think the fact-checking is going to be left up to individual news organizations that carry the debate. I think that's probably the only way to handle this. The moderators are in a tough position. I've worked with moderators that have done debates over the years. It's very difficult to do it on the fly. That suggestion that there'd be that running crawl, I don't think that's a realistic one, but it's going to be up to the moderators how they frame it exactly, and then up to news organizations to help the American people parse through the fact versus the fiction.
Fact-checking or no, it will be must-see TV. Rick, we always appreciate your insights.
Hey, thank you so much.
To the economy, the U.S. trade deficit is at its highest level in 12 years, surging to $63.3 billion in July. That news coming today as the National Congressional Budget Office warns the national debt is now on pace to exceed the size of the U.S. economy. The federal debt is projected to reach or exceed 100% of U.S. gross domestic product. The last time we saw this happen was in 1946, after years of financing military operations to end World War II. The cause now, massive stimulus spending and reduced tax revenue in response to the coronavirus pandemic. A necessary move, say many economic experts.
Right now, it's a boost that helps keep the economy recovering and certainly keeps stock markets soaring.
And there could be another stimulus package right now, though. Negotiations between the White House and lawmakers are at a standstill.
And some good news on the unemployment front. New jobless claims fell to their lowest level since the height of the pandemic lockdowns and layoffs in early spring. Levels are still high, though. The Labor Department reports just over 880,000 Americans applied for jobless benefits last week. This is only the second week since March where unemployment claims have fallen below 1 million.
And joining us now is Mark Hamrick, a senior economic analyst with Bankrate.com. Mark, it is good to see you. Thank you for joining us this Thursday. Unemployment claims well below 1 million. Does this mean, Mark, layoffs are starting to trend down too?
I don't think so, Jenna. We did look a little better in this latest reading, but this is just 1 week's number. As you indicated, the trend over the past 24 weeks has been really to be above 1 million, and we'll see what happens in the weeks to come. I'm optimistic and hopeful that we'll be able to continue to draw this down further. But, you know, we've had a lot of headline-making news about just plans to cut jobs in the coming weeks, whether it's the airlines like United or American, and just today, Amtrak. There's a lot of pain out there in leisure and hospitality, transportation, and retail. On the other side of the equation, we have low interest rates benefiting the housing market. The stock market broadly has been doing well over the past several months. So we really have an unbalanced economy, and the overall level of unemployment is still historically high.
Tomorrow, Mark, we'll get the jobs report. What are you expecting to see there?
Well, this is expected to show more hiring, John, but at a lower pace. So we're expecting to see somewhere more than 1 million jobs, I'm going to call it, recovered And that is expected to be sufficient to take that unemployment rate down below the 10% level, having been previously at 10.2. Mind you, of course, 10% was the peak during the Great Recession. We want to make further progress. I am concerned, though, that in the coming months, whether it's job losses in small organizations, small businesses, mom and pop, if you will, as well as some of these other job cuts that we have heard are planned, it's still going to be a struggle. It's not going to be a straight line by any means.
So there's no agreement in sight, Mark, for more relief spending. What do you think? Is it needed? And do you think President Trump's executive actions on extended unemployment and payroll taxes go far enough?
Well, I think the president did what he thought he could based on the would-be limits of his power. But I think there's broad understanding that these are really minimal moves, and they are poor substitutes for what I think we would normally expect from elected officials in Washington, and that is to find agreement in behalf of the needs of the greater good, the American people. And so just by definition, Jenna, to the extent that, most of the states, almost all of them, have decided to go at least with the $300 a week in increased unemployment assistance. That is, frankly, and honestly, and obviously, just half of the $600 that had previously been in addition to what states typically provide. So the math is very simple there. We're going to have less money to spend for those who are out of work, and there's going to be less benefit to the broader economy. So just by virtue of having less money going into the hands of those who need it right now, that's going to be not as positive as what we had seen previously.
All right, Mark Hamrick with Bankrate.com. We have to leave it there, but thank you so much. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Coming up, fallout as states are told to prepare for a vaccine that hasn't even been approved. The latest on the coronavirus crisis when we come back.
Introducing the CBN Bible from CBN.com. Now, an easier way to study the Bible and grow in your faith. Highlight your favorite verse. Read separate versions at a glance. Click and read a commentary. Or cross-reference your favorite verse using the Strong's Concordance. All the right tools to study the Bible, all in one place. The CBN Bible, available at cbn.com/Bible or the iTunes App Store.
This is CBN Newswatch.
Thanks for joining us.
Watch breaking news, exclusive stories and programs, credible news reporting.
We show you what's happening in the world and how you can pray about it.
This is CBN Newswatch, because truth matters. Weekdays at 5 on the CBN News Channel.
Yes, right on time.
From Superbook.
Pepper's Pizza Palace is donating pizza for everyone today. Wait. I have big plans today.
Trust in God, even when times are tough. He has a plan for your life.
Hey, we're gonna be late for the grand opening.
My parents want me to help with this outreach thing, feeding the community. What am I supposed to do here? Superbook!
Join the Superbook Club and get Superbook The Birth of Moses, plus 2 copies to share with others, all for your gift of only $25.
Pharaoh ordered all newborn Hebrew boys thrown into the Nile River, and I have a 3-month-old brother.
The Birth of Moses. Yours for a gift of only $25.
What will you do the next time the soldiers come? I do not know, but I trust God has a plan for all of us.
Superbook Club members, free streaming for seasons 1, 2, and 3 is now available.
Welcome back. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention is urging America's governors to get ready for a possible COVID vaccine by November 1st. In a letter to states, CDC Director Robert Redfield said the government is, quote, rapidly making preparations for large-scale vaccine distribution in the fall. Critics fear the president is rushing a vaccine to get it out before the November 3rd election, a claim the White House denies.
It has nothing to do with November 3rd as much as it has to do with September 30th, October 30th, November 30th.
NIH Director Francis Collins says it's unlikely there will be a vaccine in October and that the letter is simply a way to help governors be prepared when a vaccine does come.
For a big part of this year, many have opted to stay home to help slow the spread of the virus. But could that actually harm other aspects of your health?
Some experts, Jenna, worry fewer people are going in for checkups and screenings, which could carry deadly implications. CBN's Lori Johnson explains.
New data shows a staggering 90% of cancer screenings were canceled this year because of COVID-19 stay-at-home orders. Hundreds of thousands of Americans missed the tests that can detect cancers of the colon, breast, cervix, and more, often before the patient even has any symptoms. Over time, cancer grows and can spread throughout the body. That's why early detection and treatment improves the patient's chance of survival. Missed or delayed screenings could prove catastrophic.
That ends up delaying their opportunity, if they are going to be diagnosed with cancer, to have the benefits of that early detection. And so my sense is that there will be more severe cancer diagnoses.
Now that many COVID restrictions are easing and patients can get the screenings and other checkups, ongoing fear is a problem. Some worry about catching the virus at the doctor's office or hospital, although healthcare facilities take steps to minimize that risk by requiring masks, clean hands, fewer people in waiting rooms, and more.
I would love to be able to see churches really stepping up to the plate, encouraging people to be able to go and get their regular cancer screening done.
Needed to be able to have folks that were walking with them through this.
Karen Tripp leads a nationwide ministry of church volunteers trained to help cancer patients draw closer to Christ. She expects a spike in the months to come.
There's going to be a lot of people that we know in our communities that are going to be coping with cancer that are going to need to see how Christ can help them through that. When we look at the studies, there's no question that the impact of faith on a person's physical health is enormous.
Turns out it's not just cancer screenings. A new survey shows nearly half of all Americans report they or a family member skipped or delayed other medical and dental care because of the pandemic. And as a result, 1 in 10 of them say that person's condition worsened. Lori Johnson, CBN News.
All right, thank you, Lori. Well, on the campaign trail today, Vice President Mike Pence made a campaign stop in North Carolina promoting leaders of the pro-life movement. On a multi-state tour sponsored by the Susan B. Anthony List, Pence made the case for re-election by pointing to the narrow defeat of a pro-life law last June that would have required Louisiana abortion doctors to have admitting privileges at nearby hospitals.
But the Supreme Court voted by 5-4 to strike down the Louisiana law. And I think people in this movement can only draw one conclusion. We need more conservatives on the Supreme Court of the United States. We need 4 more years of President Donald Trump in the White House.
While in Raleigh, Pence, surrounded by about a dozen officers, also accepted the endorsement of the Southern States Police Benevolent Association. This against the backdrop of ongoing unrest over police shootings of Black Americans.
Coming up next, it's one of the world's most populous and religiously pluralist countries. So why is it becoming one of the most dangerous places to be a Christian? The answer when Faith Nation returns.
When I came to Regent University, it's like the world opened up. I felt like I needed to advance my career and go back to school. Regent was a perfect fit for me. The Regent professors are world class. You are equipped. The focus of the faculty is on each individual student, whether it's online or in person. You become a part of Regent's family. You carry with you not just the content and the knowledge, but the confidence to understand that we can be significant in the world.
Regent University. Follow your path.
Nigerian Christians
in Iran are routinely arrested.
Nepali Christians continue to suffer.
In times of trial and affliction, you need to know the truth.
One of the fastest growing Christian populations in the world.
Join Wendy Griffith and George Thomas for Christian World News.
Young people are the ones who are open to the gospel.
Powerful stories of suffering and hope that affect all Christians. Watch Christian World News, Saturday at 5 p.m. Get Protect Your Sleep and discover how to improve the quality of your life. A free DVD or booklet from the Christian Broadcasting Network.
If you're not a great sleeper, you can do things to make yourself a great sleeper. If you're already a pretty good sleeper, you can enhance your sleep and be even better.
5 leading experts help remove the obstacles between you and restorative sleep.
When you don't get a restful night's sleep, you wake up with an accumulation of stress.
Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com to get your free DVD or booklet today.
Everything you do better with a good night's sleep.
You'll discover how food affects your sleep, how to put insomnia to rest, explore effective remedies for sleep apnea, and much more in Protect Your Sleep. Wake up to your best life and get Protect Your Sleep today. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com to get your free DVD or booklet.
A mob drags a pastor from his home, beats him brutally, and then slits his throat.
That awful murder is just one example of the horrific violence sweeping across India. CBN's George Thomas explains why India has become one of the top 10 most dangerous places to be a Christian.
A new report by a human rights group claims that despite a 4-month coronavirus lockdown, Christians in India are facing an uptick in religiously motivated persecution. According to Persecution Relief, these 4 states are now the most dangerous places for Christians, where beatings, arrests, church destruction, and at times death are regular occurrences.
The police will be called, and at times the Christian will be arrested and accused of creating communal disharmony, accused of causing problems by being a Christian.
Among those brutally killed, 27-year-old Kandi Mudu, who converted from Hinduism to Christianity 4 years ago.
Among the first people he led to Christ were his 3 brothers. That started the pressure in his village.
On June 7th, half a dozen radical Hindu men armed with sharp weapons and homemade guns dragged Mudu out of his home, severely beat him, then slit his throat.
And even when the Hindu mob came to get him, and knowing that his life could be about to end, the last thing he said to his wife as he was led away was, "Honey, I want you to stay strong in your faith. Even if they kill me, you remain firm in your faith in Christ."
Persecution Relief says Mudu's case was among 293 incidents of anti-Christian persecution in just the first 6 months of this year, a 40% jump compared to the same time last year.
Seeing the ways in which attacks on those communities have continued has been part of the reason why we see the concern raised by Open Doors and by many across the world in terms of what's happening for religious freedom in India.
Over the past 7 years, India has gone from number 31 to number 10 on Open Doors' World Watch list of the most dangerous places in the world to be a Christian. The majority of attacks happening under the Hindu-led BJP government of Narendra Modi. Modi's party is accused of trying to turn India into a Hindu nation.
As Prime Minister Modi was re-elected last year, he promised to make India more Hindu. They believe that India is a Hindu nation. Literally, the soil is Hindu soil, and if you want to live there, you should be a Hindu.
India's constitution guarantees religious freedom, yet the government is pushing a national law that would ban religious conversions.
Basically, laws that say you cannot change your religion. If you want to change your religion, you need to appear before a magistrate. You need to explain why you're doing that. And that gives the government opportunities to fight against that conversion and to try to talk you out of changing your faith.
So far, 8 of India's 29 states have passed anti-conversion laws. And it's not just Christians. Muslims are also coming under pressure.
We see a number of efforts that have been undertaken that particularly target Muslims, including last year the passage of a Citizenship Amendment Act, which made it a lot easier for everyone other than Muslims to try and obtain a path to citizenship.
Then in early August, Hindus across the country celebrated as Prime Minister Modi broke ground on a long-awaited Hindu temple to their revered god Ram at the site of a demolished 16th century mosque. In 1992, Hindu radicals destroyed the mosque, sparking massive Hindu-Muslim violence. For more than 7 decades, India has been held together by its secular constitution, rich culture, and pluralistic values. Now, human rights groups say all that is under threat as Modi and his political party pursue an aggressive and deadly agenda of trying to turn India into a Hindu nation, something a ranking BJP leader once said would happen by December 31st, 2021, when all of India would be free of Christians and Muslims, either by conversion or they'd be forced out of the country. George Thomas, CBN News.
Well, comfort during a crisis. Still ahead, how one dog is helping to ease some pandemic fears.
Christians around the world are standing with the Israelis. But why? In CBN's free magazine, Friends of Israel, you'll discover why Christians are supporting the Jewish state, how Israel is fulfilling prophecy as a light to the nations, and ways you can pray for the people of Israel. Israel needs the support of friends like you. Call now or go to cbn.com to get your free copy of Friends of Israel.
Heavenly Father, we do thank you for the work of your Spirit, Lord God, with this movement of getting the Bible,
yes,
Lord, into public schools.
Watch The Prayer Link, Tuesday nights at 6:30.
Hey, if you're tired and exhausted all day, you can't think clearly, and you really just need a cup or even a pot of coffee to get through your day, then join me, Dr. Josh Axe, for this new series where I'm going to teach you how to transform your diet and use essential oils and supplements to get a better night's sleep.
Get Protect Your Sleep and live your best life with innovative information from 5 leading sleep experts.
If you're not a great sleeper, you can do things to make yourself a great sleeper. If you're already a pretty good sleeper, you can enhance your sleep and be even better.
Discover a sleep-enhancing bedtime routine, how to put insomnia to rest, learn how to relieve pain that disturbs sleep, and much more in Protect Your Sleep.
Everything you do better with a good night's sleep.
Wake up to your best life. Call 1-800-700-7000 to get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
Don't miss out on this brand new series.
And finally tonight, navigating the pandemic has caused some concerns for most of us, both old and young.
And that is why some kids are turning to man's best friend for a little comfort. Her name is Esther, and she's helping students at Faith Lutheran Middle School in Las Vegas navigate the hard times brought on by COVID-19.
Dogs like Esther, who are trained to do this kind of work, are able to really zero in when students are distressed and kind of provide that extra layer of calm and safety.
It's a little nerve-wracking with the one-way hallways and trying to find my classes, but when I see Esther in the hallways, it just puts a big smile on my face.
And not only is Esther popular at school, she also garners a lot of attention through her social media accounts. Well, that's going to do it for Faith Nation.
Good night.